Greetings once again. So today is day 6 of our Viking Grand European River Cruise, and today we're sailing to the town of Würzburg, Germany. So sit back and relax and enjoy some of the scenery along the way. This was yet again another very long overnight cruise, and we left Miltenberg, actually Freudenberg, after dinner and did not arrive in Würzburg until after lunch the next day. As you can see, the river has many twists and turns, hence the nickname the Snake. It was fairly slow going, not only because of the curves, but also because there were numerous locks along the way. We made a brief stop in Karlstadt am Main to allow the guests to depart on an optional excursion to Rothenburg. The trip by bus to Rothenburg was about an hour and 15 minutes long, and it actually passed through Würzburg on the way, but we didn't arrive by ship until near 1 o'clock in Würzburg. Rothenburg lies at the top of the Romantic Road and is one of the best preserved medieval cities in Germany. As a matter of fact, you can walk around the city walls, which is about a 1.5-mile hike. The whole of the walled town is a museum, and you can explore some of the enchanting lanes and visit historic landmarks, such as the Rothenburg Town Hall, which has a very interesting history on its own, and the iconic St. James Church. The city also overlooks the Taube River, which from the city walls is a spectacular view. Be sure to visit one of the many cafes and restaurants and take advantage of some delicious German cuisine. Or if you wish, you can visit the Torture Chamber Museum. It's a great little city with sights galore, but it is also home to Cathay Wolfhard, which is a world-renowned Christmas decoration maker. Just before arriving in Würzburg, it was lunchtime, and we settled on the foredeck to have a little bite to eat, and also enjoy the vineyards and scenes from either side of the ship. The foredeck was actually the only place you could sit outside while we were on the Main, largely because of the high water and low bridges, so the upper deck was completely closed off for our full journey on the Main River. We always tried to get to lunch early so we could grab a place on the foredeck and enjoy some of the delicious food that was offered. Like the Rhine River, vineyards are predominant along the hillsides on the Main, and Sylvaner is the wine of choice in this region. As lunch was ending, we arrived in Würzburg, docking at the power station on the north end of the city, which is a little bit away from the downtown itself, so we required buses to get downtown. Once we were docked at the power station, we jumped on buses which took us to the residence, the bishop's residence in Würzburg. For many centuries, the Würzburg prince-bishops had enormous power and wealth, and the city of Würzburg grew under their rule. The crowning glory is this UNESCO-listed bishop's residence, one of Germany's finest Baroque palaces built between 1720 and 1744. It was commissioned by Prince Bishop Johann Philipp Franz von Schönbrunn, and this palace of palaces was designed and built by the architect Balthasar Neumann. The palace is also surrounded by beautiful gardens which are worth a stroll through if you have the time. The first thing you encounter when you are inside is Neumann's grand staircase. It has an unsupported vaulted ceiling and has the world's largest ceiling fresco. The ceiling is called the Four Continents, and it was created between 1752 and 1753 by the Venetian painter Giovanni Battista Tiepolo. Somewhere up there, the architect Neumann is pictured sitting on top of a cannon. Here we are with a few of our friends from the ship, and as we look up at the frescoes, we can also see that the corners have some very nice statuary provided. Each room in the imperial apartments is a study in Baroque opulence. This is the Kaisersaal, the Imperial Hall, and it's a combination of marble, gold stucco, and more incredible Tiepolo frescoes. These particular frescoes depict scenes from the life of the Emperor Frederick Barbarossa. There is so much going on in this room, it's almost impossible to decide where to look, let alone where to take your pictures. This is the Prince Bishop's reception hall, and the walls are covered with gorgeous tapestries, not to mention another round of beautiful frescoes on the ceiling. The last room we visited is the Spiegelsaal, which is the Hall of Mirrors, and it is entirely covered with mirrors, which gives the illusion of infinite space. As I mentioned earlier, the gardens are worth the trip if you have the time, and they are so well tended and exquisitely maintained, it's really worth the walk. As you come out of the residence, on the right-hand side, there's a place called Städtliche Hofkeller, and it is dedicated to the winemaking industry in Würzburg, in and around Würzburg. And here we have a depiction of the Main River with all the wineries around it. Inside, you'll encounter the uniquely shaped wine bottles known as Boxbeutel. These have a distinctive ellipsoid shape resembling a goat's bladder, which is where the name Boxbeutel comes from. As you wander around town, look for buildings that have the name Weingut on them, which is a winery. And wines are important to the region, as you can see behind the train station, this vineyard, and most of the vineyards here are Sylvaner grapes. Now, you probably don't have time to go to the train station, but it's worth noting that there's a very poignant display in front of the train station, which is a Holocaust display marking the transportation of the Jews by train to the concentration camps. So we start a walk down from the residence to the main part of town, and we can see the Würzburger Dom, which is the seat of the bishops of the Catholic Church here in Würzburg. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to go in. We did have time to wander over to the Neumünster, which lies right in the middle of the city on the tram line and even has a Woolworth nearby, and we thought those were gone. The Neumünster is a Romanesque church, and it's buried right here in the middle of the main street with a very elaborate facade, and the original church dates back to the 11th century. Inside, the church is decidedly Romanesque, and it has intricate statues and carvings on either side, and beautiful stained glass as well. Since we're on a church theme, we head next to the Marienkapelle, which is the Church of St. Mary's. It's right next to the library and the city market. The Marienkapelle dates back to the 14th century, and it's one of the oldest surviving buildings in Würzburg, and it's known for its Gothic architecture, which is characterized by pointed arches, ribbed vaults, and slender columns. The chapel itself is dedicated to the Virgin Mary and has served as a place of worship for centuries. One of the most notable features of the Marienkapelle is its impressive stained glass windows, which depict scenes from the life of the Virgin Mary and other religious motifs. The side entrance to the church sits right here on the main market square, so there's lots of opportunity to do some shopping and eating. Just a few steps away from the Marienkapelle is the City Hall, or Rathaus. This building dates back to the 14th century, and it has undergone a lot of renovations, especially during the Renaissance and Baroque periods. Like many city halls throughout Germany, it has a Ratskeller, which is originally where food and drink was stored, but are now turned into taverns or restaurants. And speaking of food or drink, this particular street has an interesting banner on it, and it is advertising the local Zwetschgenkuchen, which is a local plum tart. Sitting on the hill above the Main River and overlooking the city is the Festung Marienburg, which was the residence of the bishops and also originally a Celtic fort. As you can see, they take advantage of every hillside they can find for their vineyards, and that's largely because of the drainage of the water, and also colder air flows down and warmer air rises, and most of them get better exposure to the sun. Well, we finish our tour on the Alte Brücke, which is the ancient bridge that connects Würzburg with Marienburg. And as you can see, the Main flows right underneath the bridge, and it is decorated with many, many statues. Off in the distance, you can see the 3 stacks of the power plant where our ship was docked. We thought about walking back, but no, we took the bus back. There are many statues of saints on the bridge, but one of the most significant is the St. Kilian statue, which is the patron saint of Würzburg, and he's carrying the sword because he was martyred in the 7th century with that sword. Now, right at the base of the bridge, there was a little wine shop on the left where you could just stand there and get a glass of wine and take it out and stand by the bridge, and our crew from the ship would wave at us, actually wave at the drone. So we step away from the bridge and say Auf Wiedersehen to Würzburg and get ready for our next adventure tomorrow. We have many more videos coming detailing our stops in each of the cities on the Viking Grand European River Cruise, so please subscribe so you don't miss any of them.